Good evening, everybody in chambers and everybody at home. I'm echoing. It is with great pleasure and privilege that I sit before you on this beautiful Tuesday, July 10th. The time is now 6:30, and I call this meeting to order. We will start with our invocation by Reverend Alfredo Benavides from Stonegate Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Council Lady Cynthia Carrasco.
Let us bow our heads and close our eyes for a few minutes. Father, we are so grateful, my God, that we have this wonderful privilege and honor to be able to call on your name at the opening session of this meeting. Father, we pray, my God, that you will give directions of your Holy Spirit. You already know all the agendas even before the foundation of the world. We know that you have a will, and your will needs to be done tonight. So, Father, we pray that you will bless the council as they make decisions tonight, and bless everybody that's here tonight. So we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If we could please face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, citizen comments and public announcements. A citizen who has a request for city services and/or other items of concern which cannot be approved or otherwise resolved by the city manager may choose to address the council. Citizens who wish to address the city council about items on the agenda will have 3 minutes to express their position, and please indicate the agenda item number on which you wish to comment. All presentations and discussions should be directed to the City Council and all questions to the Mayor. Any complaints and/or discussion about individuals, personnel, council members, city staff, or other persons would be out of order and will not be heard by the City Council at this time. Charges or complaints about specific individuals shall be presented in writing to the City Manager. All complaints of this nature must be signed and dated by the individual filing the complaint and will be addressed pursuant to Alice personnel policies. Please approach the speaker's stand, state your full name and address when you begin your remarks so that the official minutes will record your appearance before the City Council. If you have written notes and you wish to present to the Mayor and Council, please furnish an extra copy to the City Clerk for the official files. Please direct your comments to the Mayor and Council. Although Council cannot take specific action on citizens' comment topics due to legal requirements, they will hear the topic and Council may have the item placed on a future agenda for action, or refer the item to a board, commission, or committee, or refer the item to staff for study or conclusion. Thank you for your cooperation. I'll call you up one at a time, starting with Marisela Navarrete.
Do I just step up?
Right up to the stand.
Hello, good evening. I'm Marisela Navarrete. My address, 3690 North US Highway 281, Lot 10. I'm just here just to support the food trucks as a food truck owner. I believe that the food trucks are growing and they have potential. If we allow them to park in the city of Alice, a lot of things can be done. It can be family oriented. It can be, somewhere we can take the kids, pets, and hang out. We can have bingo. We can have loteria nights. It just doesn't have to be just about vending or selling food. It can be fun for the family. And I believe that if we all work together as a team, it can be possible. Finding a location, working as a team. Being a food vendor, it's hard because we don't just we have to carry merchandise like food, ice, electric, propane, water. So there's a lot to think about in making this possible. Is just as we work together, we can do it. And I believe that if you give us food vendors an opportunity, that it'll be something good for the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Christy Garza?
Hello, my name is Christy Garza. I live at 6005 Bobtail Drive in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I am here also representing the food truck community in favor of the food truck park. I, along with my husband, own Kona Ice of Coastal Corpus Christi. We have operated in Corpus Christi since 2014, and in January of this year, we acquired the Kona Ice of Jim Wells County franchise, and so we now operate in Alice, Kingsville, Mathis, Beeville, and many areas in between. One thing that we've noticed over the years since becoming a food truck owner is that they have dramatically increased the amount, and we offer a wide variety of foods as a food truck community. The trailers and food trucks are becoming fancier and sleeker, more appealing. We have many, almost all, that pass health inspections with flying colors. We pay, sales taxes. We're legitimate businesses, which is sometimes a common misconception. Schools invite us to their food truck or to their festivals to participate in their festivals, help their children. Private companies offer, invite us to cater for their businesses and for their parties and things. And I think this would be an excellent opportunity for the city of Alice. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Maria Padilla?
Hi, good evening. My name is Maria Padilla. I reside here in Alice, Texas at 1244 Catherine Drive. Me and my husband have both owned our food trailer for 2 years now. And one thing I can say about the food truck community is that we are a close, tight-knit community. I know so many food truck people, and we're just always friendly with each other. We're always giving us a heads up about what events are going on and things like that. And so I feel like if there were to be a food truck park here, then that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a community. You're not just going to see people competing against each other for business, because that's not what we're about. We've always helped one another out in everything that we do. And so this would be a good opportunity for the city of Alice. It would not only it would bring people revenue, it would bring people over here, to see what we're about, because we're a really nice, close-knit group of people, and I really think that the city of Alice would benefit from this. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Victoria Dominguez?
Hi, everyone. I just really wanted to thank you guys for giving us a chance today to come together as a food truck community, because as Maria explained, that's really how we interact as businesses. Today we're coming to you asking that we can have a designated area to be able to establish some type of food truck park. We want to have a rotation of food trucks coming from Corpus and other regions to kind of add a little bit of excitement to our town, along with anchoring some of our local food trucks and giving us an opportunity to have consistent business and be able to park along each other. Because right now it is hard having to park one on one side of town and the other on the other side of town, because we do like to park together. It makes it easier for the consumer standpoint, because you're able to just, one person wants a burger and the kids want tacos, or, whatever there is, there's diversity. And so we just ask that you consider the proposal today, and I just want to thank you for giving us this time.
Thank you. Miss Belinda Silva?
My name is Belinda Silva, and I still reside at 904 Lewis Street here in Alice, Texas, and I'm a proud citizen as such. Before I start, my time starts, because I've been timed before, I do have a question for the attorney, our city attorney. I understand that I have 3 minutes, but if I want more, I can seek the approval of the board as long as they are here, correct?
And I would say that your mayor would be able to determine if you need to have more time. She's the presiding officer of the meeting.
Okay, well, I hope I won't get cut off this time, but I do have some vital points that I hope people will be open to, okay? My time can start now. Our sitting citizens of Alice are true to their souls. While our community has suffered difficult economic times, the citizens of Alice continue to be who they have always been: strong, resilient, and vital to our community. There was once a time that people thought the auditorium should not even be open at all. With the help of community members and volunteers who put their time, energy, and passion to promoting the auditorium, the place continues to bring money into the entire community. The fact remains that the Alice Auditorium and Water Park is succeeding and generating a huge profit. It has been filled to capacity several times already this season alone. Swim meets are bringing in hundreds of people from surrounding cities for each event held at the auditorium, who often stay overnight at our local hotels and enjoy wonderful meals at our local restaurants. Private parties, swim lessons, aerobic classes, season passes, they all continue to add to the success of the facility as well. The former and previous advisory committee for the auditorium suggested the food trucks. That experiment has already been done. We can all say that having food trucks at the successful 4th of July events put on by the fabulous 5 of the Parks and Rec Board, which serve our city of Alice, last year already proved that food trucks work well at the auditorium, and they work well. Can you imagine just how many customers that Alice's Wonderland and all these other food truck vendors would have if they were held at swim meet or high peak season at the auditorium? Not only would those food trucks get visibility here in Alice, who we all already know their delicious food, but they would get experience from out-of-town guests, which what in turn gets us as a community exposure. When citizens of Alice want to make a difference, it requires a commitment with hearts, souls, and minds. But to help an establishment succeed even more in this day and age, it requires creative thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, and more than anything else, as stated by them, dedicated teamwork. And that requires the leadership of you all, who we are your boss. There has always been a plan for this place. There was even a re-election held because that place always had a plan. Please consider the following items that have already been shared and have already been proven profitable. The most vital part to ensuring even more success is to have a specific auditorium and water park board.
That's your time, Ms. Silva. Thank you
May I
so
have
much.
3 more minutes?
The extent of our agenda is pretty long today.
Well, I know that in
apologize.
previous times you have extended and allowed other people extended times and even debates within that time. So I'm courteously and respecting for an extension of time, ma'am. May I please have that? I have been very positive with my statements, and
Yes,
they will
ma'am.
continue to be.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate your time today, but we really need to move on with our meeting.
Well, that is very
I
interesting
appreciate
to me for equitable purposes, but
Thank you,
I
Ms.
will be
Silva.
posting it on Facebook so
Thank
that
you.
the entire citizens
Okay.
have it. Thank you for letting me
Agenda
speak.
Item number 3.
Partially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, here's status report from City Manager concerning Texas Governor Disaster Declaration. And 2, Cypress Creek Renewables, Bandana, and Millhouse Solar Farms.
Yes, Mayor, as far as the governor, on July 3rd, the Governor Abbott added Jim Wells County to the list of the proclaimed disaster areas with their proclamation. And your proclamation, as well as the proclamation from the Jim Wells County, really helped in that process. So far, we've had approximately 20 city residents that called in to report damage to their homes and 1 business. We're still receiving phone calls slowly. Once we have that list complete, this week we'll be sending that over to the Jim Wells County Emergency Management Coordinator, and next week there'll be damage. It could be at the end of this week, but next week for sure, damage assessment teams will be here from the state to conduct assessments. And if we reach our county damage threshold, then the governor will send a request to FEMA for assistance. And so I encourage the citizens of Alice who did incur damage from the recent flooding to call 361-668-7229, 361-668-7229, and report that so we can have that on the list as we move forward.
Michael, can I ask you a question real quick in regards to that before we move on to number 2? Sorry, Mary, just real quick. Now that threshold is met by the county.
Right.
So again, the citizens, any minor damage is great. We had some major damage just moving south of us. So just call in. If it doesn't qualify, they'll let you know, but call in regardless. And that same number is for everybody in the county or just within the city limits?
That's for the people that reside within the city limits. For the county, it would be call your county commissioner to let them know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cypress Creek Renewables wanted to let you guys know that they're an independent power producer and developer. They have offices in Texas, North Carolina, California. They have been visiting with our county judge, Pete Trevino, as well as a couple of the EDC members. They're interested in opening up a solar power farm on Old Kingsville Road in Cecilia. Their estimates are that the total project cost could be about $145 million. It's about 800 acres that they're looking at out there to lease. A small portion of that is in the city limits, but their projected service volume is going to be equivalent to about 18,000 homes is what they can generate out there. And they're expected to spend about $86 million in construction. Annual spending would be about $1 million, and their jobs, construction jobs, are estimated to be about 180. The time for construction, they said, would be about 9 to 12 months, and they would create 2 permanent jobs. But they're still in talks with the county judge and some of the EDC to see how they want to move forward. So we'd like to see if that can happen. Another thing y'all have in front of you was this sheet from the Texas Water Development Board. Councilman Chris last time had asked about notification about this exact item, and so we received an email from the Texas Water Development Board about the opening of the public comment period on the draft intended use plans for drinking water and Clean Water State Revolving Fund. So the city submitted a wastewater collection infrastructure improvement project, and the AWA also submitted a groundwater project. So that will tell you if you want to access the public comment section. You can do it via written comments, email, or there's also a public hearing on July 25th at 10 a.m. in Austin. So if you guys want to do any of those 3 and need some help with any of that, Becky Guetta in our Public Works Department and Barbara Reeves in our Grants Department will help you guys with that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Esparza. Agenda item number 4, consider and act upon approval of City Council minutes for June 26, 2018 City Council meeting. Council, are there any corrections, adjustments?
Didn't see any.
No. Okay, if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move for adoption, approval of the minutes for June 26, 2018.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion stands as stated. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, consider and act upon authorizing the city manager to implement a policy plan document regarding cafeteria plan administration, Section 125, pre-tax deductions through City of Alice payroll, outlining description of employee benefits that are covered through the plan, participation rules, annual limits, election procedures, eligibility and employer contributions, establishment of a plan year, and authorizing a member of city staff as a cafeteria plan administrator.
Mayor, we have Diana Lopez, our risk manager, as well as Zach Gingrich with Carlisle Insurance, who is our benefits consultant. They're going to be presenting this item to you guys.
This is the final document.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In keeping with the premise of expansion of our risk management program and in review of the benefits we provide to the City of Alice and to our employees, myself, the Human Resources Department, the City Manager, and our benefits consultant have been reviewing plan documents for each insurance product that we carry. In discussions, the topic of cafeteria plans came forward, and reviewing our history and in trying to determine when was the last time the governing body of the City of Alice outlined the specifics for the application of our cafeteria plan, we concluded it was in the best interest of the city at this time to formally restate our cafeteria plan, to be clear as to the plan document itself, and more importantly, to provide our employees with a clear summary plan description of the benefits afforded to them under the plan. A cafeteria plan or a Section 125 plan is simply a separate written plan maintained by the employer for the employees who meet the specific requirements of and regulations of Section 125 of the Internal Revenue Code. It provides employees, who are the participants, an opportunity to receive certain benefits on a pre-tax basis, and it allows the employer to provide the employee the option to withhold a portion of their salary on a pre-tax basis to cover the cost of qualifying insurance premiums. Section 125 cafeteria plan benefits are exempt from federal income tax. Thus, an employee's taxable income is reduced, which increases the employee's take-home pay. This evening, we have Zach Gingrich with Carlisle Insurance, who's going to discuss with the council the plan document in front of you. I would like to note that changes in the last few years regarding health care, IRS has issued several new rules that allow employees to change coverage or have qualifying events and permit plans to allow changes in coverage during the plan year for a variety of changes in status. In redrafting and restating our intention with the cafeteria plan, these changes in status have been incorporated into the document in front of you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gingrich, and then we'll have an opportunity for questions from the council.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Good evening, council, mayor, city manager. In essence, essentially, as Ms. Lopez had said, that in an expansion of the risk management and review of the documents, we saw the opportunity to give the city of Alice full administrative control over your cafeteria 125 plan. The document that you have in front of you has been reviewed by your city attorney and has been approved to be inserted to replace what's currently being outsourced to bring in-house. We think this will be of value as I mentioned, the city will have full control over this. Often we work with a lot of municipalities, work with a handful of groups, and when you have a staff that's as organized, as knowledgeable as you, to bring this in-house, again, just ensures that you have full control of the situation. The document itself governs the relationship that you have as far as being allowed to allow these payroll deductions to be pre-tax. So again, we just saw it as the opportunity that this is a resource that, as your consultant, that we can provide to you guys at no additional cost. It's within our scope of services. Just again, to give the city of Alice more control over your plan document.
Okay.
Questions on that?
Council, any questions? Mr. Molina?
I have no questions.
Mr. Chris?
I have none.
Mr. Burke?
None.
Ms. Carrasco? Okay. There are no questions, council? No questions? You need a question?
No. You ready for the motion, or you have?
Nope. I was just concerned because it's being done by a local entity right now. So what are the benefits of that versus what we're doing now currently?
So, yes, Mayor and Council. Right now, we do use an independent third-party administrator to provide the administration of the plan. I think it's very important to focus on the premise of the plan, which does belong to the City of Alice. Currently, AFLAC is our supplemental carrier for off-site voluntary products, and they are the individuals that employees sit with at open enrollment to complete the paperwork, whether they are electing to choose to pre-tax their deductions or not. Ultimately, however, in the absence of this document, employees are not being provided or afforded the opportunity to really understand the importance of pre-tax, the option to opt out of it. The documents in front of you clearly outline that. It provides them clear information as to what qualifies you to elect at open enrollment. It defines the plan year. It defines new things that have come into play under healthcare law, very specific for them. The administration of the plan, while employees are sitting with that third-party administrator, ultimately the responsibility falls back on the City of Alice. We are the individuals that, while we receive the paperwork from them, we are ensuring that, number one, the application is being provided appropriately through payroll, that the deduction is set up to tax appropriately, and we also ensure that we are following through very thoroughly to ensure that every employee is electing or waiving that. This document in front of you, in addition to the summary plan description that will be going out to employees, simply just puts the control 100% back in the city's hands. And as we look and expand on the premise of trying to cut our risk and minimize our risk, this is a way for an employer our size to ensure that we are completely and thoroughly applying the premise of 125. Okay. It will not prohibit employees from meeting with that company. Those products will still be eligible and available for them to sit. All it does is it ensures that we absolutely have, from every single employee, the election in front of us.
Correct. I'm just making sure that our city employees understand, that they can still elect to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to see that they're still at enrollment to make
Yes,
it easier
ma'am.
for our city employees. And again, in the spirit of small businesses in our
Yes,
town,
ma'am.
which is always a priority for me.
Yes, ma'am.
I never want to take away.
No,
I
ma'am.
want to grow small businesses in our town, so that's a concern.
With this particular vendor, we have employees who have had policies with them for a very many number of years, and we always take into consider disruption. Our open enrollment process is very thorough. It includes not only the explanation of benefits and the opportunity for our employees to visit with these types of companies. This year, we're looking to expand and continue our flu shot program, since everybody has to be there anyway, and also the expansion of providing an opportunity for them to visit with 457 plan administrators to expand on additional retirement options afforded to them. Open enrollment is the time of year where employees, we really want to empower that they understand the benefits that are being afforded to them.
Correct. Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
From an enrollment standpoint, though, there won't be a difference. You have your, and Carlisle does enrollments for the medical, dental, and vision, and the standard products, and then Aflac does enrollments on their products. So that's not going to change how that happens.
Right.
It's just the internal workings on here as far as the creation of the document.
And that will be done at the same time.
Yes,
I'm concerned because I knew that the city staff was able to sit with personally and discuss and talk and be clear, because sometimes insurance is confusing to a lot of people that, don't. It is to me,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much to offer.
Our enrollments happen in two steps. The first is for them to sit with Carlisle and walk through the medical, the dental, the life, and the vision. And then the second part of that is for them to be afforded the opportunity to sit with Aflac, review their products, and make any changes that they feel are necessary in their interest. I would like to stress also that the Aflac products are completely voluntary, and it does not cost the City of Alice 1 cent.
Correct.
And of course, there's other products involved. It's not just Aflac, right? There's like, I'm
Aflac
sure
is
you
the
offer
company.
other things, too.
Aflac is the company that
Yeah,
provides
I
the
know. But I mean,
worksite
there's
products.
other services too. There's other
How do you mean,
products.
Mr. Burke?
Well, no, the other products at enrollment time, it's just Aflac. We don't have anything else at any other additional products like a 457 or anything like that, do we?
We do offer a 457B plan through ICMA, and this year we are planning to expand to include that. Normally October is National Retirement Month, but because enrollments happen latter part of August, September, it's difficult to bring everybody in at that point and then bring them in again in October. They reached out to us this week, and we're hoping to incorporate that into this enrollment session.
Absolutely.
I do have a question in regards to.
Go ahead. No,
Okay, in regards to, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me, I'm no expert in this, but there is an IRS statute that says that the option has to be made available to them, right?
Yes.
And by doing this in two phases, and if they opt out basically of the second phase, have we still met our portion as the employer to not get hit with that later on.
Yes, so the documents in front of you, the document that is entitled Section 125 Premium Only Plan is the plan itself.
Okay.
And that clearly identifies under Section 125 IRS, which is the section that governs this plan, what our purpose is, what the intent of the plan is. It defines every definition, who the administrator is, what their role is, what the coverage period is. The second document, the summary plan description, on the very last page is an example or a sample of what we will be gathering from every employee, and that's the actual enrollment notice to each employee. The way that the plan is drafted falls in line with what we are doing now, and that is it's an automatic enrollment and an automatic continuation of the elections that were made last year, unless they specifically tell us in writing by signing and waving away on this document that they choose to have the deductions that apply after tax.
Okay, Ms. Carrasco, you had a...
I just think one thing that's unique, and well, I say unique because we take time to do a one-on-one with each of our employees, and I think that's wonderful. So.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we have been doing. That's my concern.
Yes, that is something that we have been doing for years. It is one-on-one. Every employee has an opportunity to ask specific questions related to their situation because every employee's situation is different. They are also given time. They have 30 days to make their elections. They don't need to make an election that day. Sometimes they need to go home, discuss it with their families, run calculations to see what is affordable to them. But that's their time to do that. And it's a role that Human Resources over the course of the last several years has taken very seriously to be able to empower them to understand what is being provided to them.
I mean, I agree. It's great taking back the control like we should in a lot of other things too. But this one, my concern is our city employees understanding that these options are still available for them and they understand how to do it and it's easy for them to do is my concern. I don't want them to feel that, oh, well, we can't do this anymore. So I want it to be very clear that they can still do that. And
yes, ma'am.
If they're present at that time, that would even be better.
Yes, ma'am, and they will be. And I certainly invite the council and mayor to please stop by one of our sessions so that you can see the level of dedication that's provided to these enrollments and also the time that is afforded to employees to be able to make decisions that are prudent to them in their situations.
Absolutely. Mr. Molina, any additional questions?
Oh, no questions.
Mr. Crisp?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Ms. Carrasco? No? Okay. Council has no further questions. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion authorizing the city manager to implement a policy plan document regarding cafeteria plan administration, section 125, pre-tax deduction through City of Alice payroll, outlining description of employee benefits covered through the plan, rules, annual limits, election procedures, eligibility, employer contributions, establishment of a plan year, and authorizing a member of the city staff as the cafeteria plan administrator.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? Okay. Motion stands as stated.
Mayor and council, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, discuss, consider, and act upon ratifying the submission of a grant application to Wells Fargo for the Health Park Project Phase 2 and authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds if awarded.
Mayor Barbara Reeves will speak on this agenda item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
June 28th, Joanne Rose, who's the Wells Fargo District Manager for our region, met with us to discuss applying for funds for the second phase of the Health Park improvements and also to discuss other possible park projects. During Wells Fargo's previous funding cycle, we received $3,500 for Phase 1 of Health Park improvements. That phase included LED lights, landscaping, park benches, picnic table, construction of a stage, and signage. Following completion of that phase, Several events have been held at the park, including the 12 Days of Christmas, Prayer in the Park, Cinco de Mayo Barbecue Cook-Off, Lemonade Days, and Juneteenth celebration. There are also some events in the planning stage to be held in the future. Phase 2 of the park improvements include additional LED lighting, expansion of the stage area, additional park picnic tables, and repair to the 7 existing light fixtures and some music equipment. The estimated project cost for Phase 2 is $10,000. If we are awarded funding and it doesn't cover the entire Phase 2, our project is scalable and we can still implement parts of it. The Wells Fargo grant program doesn't require match. It doesn't require a formal resolution. And for this particular cycle, the application deadline was July 6th. That deadline was in between council meetings, and we discussed with administration that aspect of this and the fact that there's no match required. So that's why we're asking you for ratification.
With the city attorney as well.
It didn't require the loan of our credit, so they could make the application and then just bring it to you all for ratification. Right. So legally it was fine.
Yes. Okay, council, any questions? Mr. Molina?
No question.
Mr. Chris?
I just want to say thank you for moving on it, because I know that in the past, a statement has been made that every grant needs to come before council, and I would expect and suspect that staff, city manager, administration would, use their head and decide what needs to be done, what can be done, and then we can go from there without having to bring everything forward. But this is a great thing to actually bring forward, because it does show that we're continuing to work on the park itself. So, but thank you for moving on it.
Yeah.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Carrasco?
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Ms. Barbara, and thank you to Wells Fargo, who has been wonderful in taking a little mini adoption of Held Park. And it's a beautiful little park. It's turning out really nice, and we have some great future things for it. So thank you. There are no further questions. I'll entertain a motion at this time, council.
I'd like to make a motion approving ratification of the submission of a grant application to Wells Fargo for the Held Park project, Phase 2, and authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds if awarded.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion stands as stated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara, and thank you, Wells Fargo. Agenda item number 7. Consider and act upon approval of a resolution of the City of Alice approving cooperation with the city served by AEP to review AEP Texas Incorporated's requested approval of an adjustment to its energy efficiency cost recovery factor.
Mayor, what you have before you is a resolution for consideration. What it is, AEP, in efforts to recoup some of their losses, due to under-collection of it's called the Energy Efficiency Cost Recovery Factor, EECRP. They filed an application to the Public Utility Commission seeking to adjust that rate. They did that on June 1st. The EECRP is kind of like a limited review. The way that they explained it also, it's a limited review request, unlike a full-fledged request when they want to review their rates. And so it's a speedier process, and so some cities acted quickly to make sure that they wanted to verify that AEP was accurate in what they were trying to collect in recoupment from all the ratepayers. I believe this one was started by the city of McAllen, and then 16 cities have joined in on a similar resolution. They employed Lloyd Gusenik as the attorney, and so if there's no cost to the city to join it, if the cities want to join these efforts with this attorney, the impact if you join or if you do not pass a resolution is the same. it's still going to go before them. But it's something that happens yearly. It's usually a limited review like the EECRP, and then next year they'll want to do a rate adjustment. And so I think they alternate years. They do the limited one and then the full-fledged next year. So it's just for your consideration, because it came to administration. We wanted to bring it up to you guys to see if you wanted to pass a resolution to be in favor of it or not, or just to leave it alone. Either way, the end result will be the same. But that's what it is. The new, if they get once it gets resolved, and if they do get this relief, that would be September 1st is when there would be a difference in rates for the citizens. And that's I spoke to the one of the attorneys at Jamie Molden, at Lloyd Gooseneck, and so she. But if you do pass a resolution, she wanted to know so she could add us to the list. It's completely up to you guys.
Council, any questions? Ms. Carrasco?
No.
No questions? Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Crisp?
Yeah, just real quick. It's no harm, no foul. It's just stating that, hey, we want it reviewed as part of, as you know, just looking out for ourselves and our citizens.
Yeah, ratepayers, right.
Mr. Molina?
No questions.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time, Council.
I'd like to move for approval of a resolution of the City of Alice approving cooperation with the city served by AEP to review AEP Texas Incorporated requested approval of an adjustment to its energy efficiency cost recovery factor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion stands as stated. Thank you, Council. Agenda item number 8, consider and act upon adopting a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement for 9.82 acres, more or less, being Lot 5 and the east 3 acres of Lot 4, Harkins Industrial Park, Section 5, recorded in Volume 7, page 39, map records of Jim Mills County, Texas, to the Alice Youth Football League for use as sports and recreational fields and facilities for a term to be determined subject to a 60-day cancellation for an amount to be determined. So this agenda item I put on the on tonight's meeting. We obviously see a need. We have the Alice Youth Football League has been around since 1996, and I have to give credit to my ex-husband and myself for creating it. And so it was born back then with a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears, but we had a place to go to. We practiced right outside the high school where they sometimes practice, but not always because they're kicked out. Fortunately for Alice, Texas, our interest in these things has grown, and we can see it when you drive by. There's kids everywhere, practicing everywhere. And sadly, our football kids are bounced from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. They really have no place to call home to practice, oftentimes having to travel and do things like that for games and things of the sort. So I know that Harkins Industrial Park has been a topic within council of what to do and how to move forward with it. And so when I was discussing with some people with interest for the kids, the youth football kids, we came about maybe the Harkins Park. And so I'm asking council to consider going into negotiations. I know that we had done it before with Mr. Gonzalez. He took city property, previous council approved it. I believe Mr. Crisp and Mr. Burke were on that council that approved the West Side Youth Center for Mr. Gonzalez to take, so to speak, a lease and make this property for the youth of the West Side. So kind of in that same realm, take city property where possibly it be leased to this league, and they take all responsibility for it, to improve it and do things that would make it appropriate for our youth playing football. So, and we have Mr. Cookie Rosales, who heads the football league.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Hi, Cookie.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we've been around 22 years. We're looking for a permanent home for the youth of this town. Currently, there's going to be close to a little over 500 kids playing youth football on Saturdays. We were playing at the Alice High School. We played at William Adams. We played at different places. Last year, we played in Ben Bolt High School Stadium. But there's a huge, outcry to, hey, let's play in Alice. Let's find a home. That's why I'm here. I'm willing to put 1 million man-hours into building this facility into a football park through volunteers. We are a nonprofit organization. We are going into the 501c3 phase as we speak, because we know that's a requirement. We want to build lights. There's no lights out there. We want to maintain add sprinkler systems. You need sprinkler systems to keep up the fields, bleachers, press boxes, clean up the concessions. It's a mess out there. There's a lot of vandalism out there. We need to find a way to protect what we put into it. So I'm here today to say I'm willing to give 1 million man-hours, get my coaches involved, parents, volunteers. I'm speaking with sponsors. We have to sell 5,000 brisket sandwiches. We'll do it. We'll do whatever we have to do to make this park great for the kids of our community. And that's why I'm here today, to ask you for help. So.
Okay, Council. Ms. Carrasco, any questions?
The Alice Youth Football League comprises of how many leagues, or what?
It's Alice kids, grades 4 years old to 6th grade. San Diego is also involved in our league, Orange Grove, Ben Bolt. We have Corpus Christi teams. But the heart of the league, Alice has 500 Alice kids that are in our district, in our schools here, that are in our league playing football every Saturday in the fall. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever visited with the, just out of curiosity, with the Alice Independent School District in reference to a shared program? There's a shared program that was entered into, I think, a couple of years ago, and it just expired, where they were saying that we could use some of their open areas in conjunction. I don't know the specifics. I don't know. Have you heard of that, Mr.?
Shared program? I have.
I was just wondering. It's probably a little off of this, but just kind of.
Well, we play there. We've had, this is our 3rd superintendent in 3 years, our 3rd athletic director in 3 years. So they all have different views on youth football. And currently, they're talking about an enormous amount of money to play on the auxiliary field, which is the junior high field. They want an outrageous amount, and it's unbelievable the amount they want per week. So there's no way that we can play there because we can't afford that. The league runs itself. You sell nachos and waters, and we're paying out $2,000 a week to put on football games every Saturday. So we generate that through gate and concessions, selling as many pickles and waters as we can, and charge $2 or $3 to get in, and we have to pay these refs and cleanup crews, security. There's a lot going into it, and it takes a lot. It's expensive to put on, but that's what we do. That's what I do. I'm in charge of it, and I have a lot of great people underneath me. But we're looking for a home, a more affordable route, and the kids of Alice need a home for youth football. So that's why I'm here today.
Ms. Carrasco, any other questions?
Not right now. Not
okay. Mr. Burke?
This is a touch program, a tackle program?
We have flag football. 4 and 5-year-olds are flag. 1st grade through 6th grade is tackle football. Yes, sir.
About how many coaches do you have?
Coaches?
Yeah.
Well, there's 27 teams, so we have 27 coaches.
I'm just trying to figure out the configuration.
Yes, sir. We have probably maybe, head coaches, maybe about 18 head coaches, because I've coached 3 teams myself, so because there's a lack of coaches, a lack of volunteers when it comes to having the time to do it, but there's about that many. Flag and full contact, we're about 27 teams this year.
Any other questions?
No.
Mr. Crisp?
I do have, so where are y'all at right now on the 501c3?
Right now we have our nonprofit paperwork, and I have it right here with me. Mr. Roman Gonzalez filed it for us. We actually talked today, and because we were knowing that we're going to be asking sponsors to help us build scoreboards and all this kind of thing, and they're going to require a 501c3. So we're going to start the process here probably on Monday. He says it shouldn't take long because we're already done the nonprofit part. So he said the 501 shouldn't be an issue. And as soon as we are full throttle 501, if the city requires me to turn those documents in, I will. We'll do whatever it takes to be in compliance with what y'all need.
So when you say you're the nonprofit, so you filed with the state of Texas to be a nonprofit organization, but you're still waiting to actually perform the IRS, the national portion of it to actually become accredited 501. Am I okay?
You want me to give you the paperwork?
No, I'm okay with that. I'm just there's. I mean, I just know that there's a lot of steps to actually pull this off, and
yes,
wondering where you're at. So
yes.
Okay. In regards to the field itself, the field will be utilized for practices and games, or
No.
just for the Saturday gaming?
Saturdays, because you're going to tear the fields up. We practice all over Alice, all over the city. We got different locations, different elementaries, different. We actually practice at the high school. There's some of our groups doing that. Football starts in the fall, so right now there is no practice. Football will start in August next month, and it'll run through November, right after Thanksgiving weekend, and after that we're probably December 1st will be the end of it. But right now we will only use it for football on Saturdays because we want to take care of the facility. And this year we know we wouldn't have scoreboards, we won't have clock, we won't have a lot of seating out there, and we're okay with that. We know we got to start at the bottom, but we're going to do everything we can to fix that park up because it needs a lot of work. I mean, we know that. We've gone out there and looked at it, and what I'm willing to put into time, because I have the time right now to do it, and I got a lot of good people around me, and we're trying to get this this park ready, if possible, by September, probably the third week of September. So we have about 2 months to put it in, but only on Saturdays will we be playing there. So.
And I know the organization. Y'all know that I assisted
yes,
in coaching. I was a sponsor
yes,
for one of the teams. My son plays.
Yes, sir.
It's a good organization, and I'm happy to see that you're moving towards the 501. It makes things a lot smoother when dealing with your sponsors and everything like that. So,
yes, sir.
In regards to the practicing and everything like that, I think that's a good plan. Let's see. Now, as an organization, do you have insurance waivers? How is that going to work? Because there's a lot of liability on this too that falls back on the city for the use of public property. Because, I mean, that's where the money is. If somebody's going to go after anybody, they're not going to go after the youth football league.
Well, I put on events all over Texas, and I work with the city of FAR, I work with Edinburgh, I work with Harlingen, I work with a lot of groups in San Antonio. We get our $5 million aggregate general liability insurance in place. It'll have the city of Alice and the location of our park, and that'll be the insurance in place. We'll have that general liability in place. Waivers are signed at registration when they sign the form. There's a waiver on that form that waives, it was waiving AISD, but now it'll waive the city of Alice. It'll waive the league, coaches, volunteers, anyone, directors, administrators. So they sign a waiver, and we do have we will have a $5 million liability insurance in place for the city of Alice.
That's all I have right now.
Okay. Mr. Molina?
I have a couple questions. Alice Youth Football League, this is something you started, correct?
No, sir. Mr. Bradford and her family started it back in 1996 with Van Tom Watley.
Okay.
The old William Adams was the location of the games, and they tore that down. They moved the facility over here behind Community Bank there at the high school, and that's where games are now, that had taken place for 20 years. Like I said, with new administration, we've had a little issues. They made it about money. They made it like, oh, how much money are they making? They have no idea that how much we're paying out, and it's crazy. Sometimes we don't even have enough at the end of the day to pay out. So there I am out of my pocket, and I am the head of it, so it's on me. But this is a week-to-week thing. The money recycles itself. If we have $800 in concessions, we're trying to make that money back, and then make a little bit extra to pay out the expenses. And if you charge $2, $3 at the gate, I mean, you might sell 300 bracelets. That's still not even enough to cover the refs. The refs alone are $1,400 a week.
How does this compare like to Pop Warner? I'm just
We're not a subsidiary. That's a national organization. This is the league, city league. You know, Stephen Galvan, Andres Elizondo, all these guys ran this league for 14 years. One day they said, I'm no longer can do it. Stephen Galvan and Andres told me they can't do it. I need somebody to take over. You know, there was 9 teams left. The league was dying. And now I built it into 27 teams.
I know you said you just recently applied for the 501, but had it been before?
Now, I know there was an EIN number, and it was set up that way back then. It's different now. It's a different process now. I was advised by my board, hey, let's become a nonprofit. Let's first. Right now we're a nonprofit. We're registered, sure. State of Texas. Next is the 501, and that's what we're doing. We're starting the paperwork on Monday. And we will be full throttle.
How are y'all doing business right now? Like under what name?
Alice U Football League.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you? I mean, what's the entity? Is it like an LLC? Is it corporated? Have you done anything like that yet, or no? Or
it's on the paper I have here. It says Roman filed it under Alice U Football League, Inc.
Okay, corporate.
Yeah, that's what he.
So you're just embarking. You're just starting off to say I'm going to do this.
Yes.
And we're going to do it because
from here on out, because you know there was questions with the school district. Okay, this is the way it was, and this is the way it needs to be. So with that, okay, but $1,500 a week they want to charge the league at $6,000 a month. There's no way we can pay that. I mean, and so we were looking for somewhere to take this. And I'm going to tell you now, I mean, I bring events, I sell out hotels and football tournaments all over Texas. I want to do the same here in Alice, and I've done it. When Sosa was here and when these coaches were here, I did it, but I didn't go to the city. I didn't ask y'all for money. I did it on my own, and because I didn't know about all that, you know, hot funds and, you know, tax money and all that. I just did it to bring business and economic boom to our town, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep on doing that from here on out. I mean, if we can get a home for this, we don't have lights right now, so our games will finish by 4 o'clock so we can get out. But I can still hold events till 5 o'clock, even with daylight savings, and they're going to have to stay the night because they're going to have to play at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. And with the park, I can do that. You know, I can sell out these hotels, you know, bring in Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Valley to Alice, Texas. Our town needs that too, you know, so that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help my town.
So y'all have, excuse me, I'm sorry. So y'all have board members already set up? Like
yes, sir. I have a board. We had a board meeting last night.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not asking these questions to be difficult. I just want everybody to understand. I used to coach youth baseball, and
yes,
I
sir.
did my own year-round stuff, and I never asked for anybody. I had to rent a baseball field. It was $25 a night. You know, I'd
yes,
come over here and rent it, and it does get old. So I understand. I feel your pain there. Just want to, you know, we want to help you, kind of point you in the right direction so that, you know, you do have everything, because I know it does get lonely, and just the insurance alone, you know,
yes,
having
sir.
to cover that, you know,
yes,
that's a stretch right there, knowing, you know, how to kind of balance your sheet there. What about background checks for your coaches? I know Little League does that. I'm just throwing that at you right there, you know.
We have had coaches involved in our league, like, for example, I've done it 18 years.
Right.
We don't just allow anybody to come in. A lot of these guys are ex-Alice Coyotes that maybe are going to kinesiology, majoring in kinesiology. They want to work with the kids. I know 99% of them. We had maybe one individual who a while back was involved with the league, who had been in trouble before, but he no longer lives. You know, he no longer alive. So, but other than that, our coaches are good citizens.
Sure.
And again, I'm from Alice, 42 years. I know everybody in this town, you know, and if it's a kid that played football, we know hasn't been in trouble, he wants to coach a team, we're okay with that. You know, we monitor that pretty closely, so.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Mayor, if I may. One of the things that, from an administration standpoint, we were looking at the legalities of whether we can lease that land, and whether we had talked about when we went to sell, we were talking about selling Harkins, and I'd like the city attorney to kind of talk about that, whether we can lease or not, but also that right now, if it is a park and there is a league, it could work similar to Little League and those places where, you know, there's a process to be able to utilize that field right now with a I think it's a $250 deposit, and then you kind of rent it for a season, and it can be used that way. So, I mean, there's nothing that prevents them from utilizing that property right now. But if you want to do something more intense, exclusivity or something like that, then that's where the discussion, I guess, begins. But go ahead, Mr. Lemon.
Well, I guess, and to walk into it from where Mike started in those regards, and Cookie, you know, you do a lot of good work. But and with this is that there are certain things in the practices in the city of Alice that we can do that are legal. One of the things is you can dedicate this as the Alice Youth Football League field, much like you have the Optimus field that is the American Little League field, and that's the American Little League field. You have the Pee Wee field, that's the Pee Wee field. And that field is dedicated for that group or that entity, and actually it was dedicated by that group and that entity by a city council, and they continue to use it. And, you know, in talking with the community affairs director, he can and intends to, if you all want to use it, to go out, to mow it, to stripe it, to assist you all in getting it ready. Just like in those fields with the Pee Wee field, with the American Little League field, that you've had a lot of, and the softball field, you've had a lot of community involvement in preparation, seeding, weeding, watering, carrying dirt, packing, all of those fields, and actually in certain years more than actually what the city does.
Right.
So all of those practices are fine and wonderful, and we have a good policy in place, and those fees can be adjusted based upon things that you're doing and whatnot. The field can be given a designation, and it can be limited for those types of purposes. The problem that we run into, and without specifically getting into the prior lease, is that it really isn't so much that it's a 501c3. The consideration issues in that prior lease, there probably is no consideration there. Okay, which good intentions and wonderful and try to do it, but it wasn't vetted properly when it was presented. So that's one thing that the city cannot do. We can't give gratuitous use or benefits of money or from our property. But in this particular situation, the thing that confronts us, because Cookie, I think that we would have some valid consideration in you all taking care of the premises, improvements the city would keep upon your completion of use and those types of things. The problem that we run into is Texas Article 3, Section 52A of the Constitution, in its interpretation, you know, generally that's the provision that doesn't allow us to give gratuitous services or gratuitous use or free use of our property. Now, courts have interpreted that to mean that, well, even if you are paying, the city can't give up control. You know, and that's the easiest way to put it. Regardless of whether it's a 501c3 or not, we can't give up control. And specifically, you know, there's opinions that say that if a lease relinquished the governing body's right to manage and control the property, including its right to allow other groups to use the property periodically, that was prohibited. And so, you know, this type of lease, while is very well intentioned, probably is not allowed under those provisions and those case authorities. However, there is a much more simple process that you guys can do in field dedication and allowing and, you know, giving directives to community development to go out and to prep that field, to fence it, to make it more secure, and to allow you all access to go in to make, you know, additions, improvements, and those types of things as donations for use of the field. And specifically, if it's dedicated as the Alice Youth Football Field, you can put up a sign,
yes, sir,
do whatever you want to call it, and that's what it's dedicated for. And you all, by ordinance, by resolution, can say this is the field that this is going to be used for these things. You know, the other thing that the Supreme Court says, it has to be used for public purposes. Very clearly, I think youth football is a recreational purpose that could be supported by the city of Alice. But I think it's better. And I did, unfortunately, Josh is not here this evening, but I did speak with him at length about his ideas and alternatives to the actual lease. And I think that he wants to do exactly what you all want to do. And when he, you know, it's a visit with you, Cookie, and then you all come up with, what you need. For instance, he's intending on moving potentially some of the bleachers over there, because we're going to do those replacements. He says we can mow it, we can turn the water back on, we can clean up the restrooms and facilities, and then work with you on things that you need so that you have a permanent home.
Yes, sir.
So you don't go bouncing around, and you don't have to pay $1,500 a week to use the facility.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that you guys can get it done in a legal fashion. And I know you've already met with Josh, but I'd suggest sit down and meet with Josh, and you guys get a plan together and start working on it. And if you run into your problems, then you come to council, or council can even go ahead and dedicate those fields for those purposes.
Might I ask something here? Is when you're meeting with Josh, meet with city manager and legal here also, because if we can actually plan something like you're talking about and bring in this tourism and bring in these overnight stays, we may be able to dip into another bucket to improve this, like we've seen with the baseball fields and so forth. But I think what needs to be presented is what you've assisted, what we've seen, what has been done in these ongoing tournaments in other towns, and the idea of bringing one here might allow for us to dip into that bucket, to make some improvements on this field as well, because if you can show us that can be done,
yes,
then we might be able to get this moving a lot quicker, faster, utilizing your man hours, but utilizing more than that in order to have a field that the city has dedicated to youth football.
Yes, sir.
So that's something that I think that when y'all put y'all's heads together, that should be definitely looked at as well.
We have
it falls under that Section 6 of everything else that we fall in. That we
yes,
talked
sir.
about.
We have an event in December here, and we have an event in January here. I had talked to Juan Navajad in reference to putting on an event, how it works, because I'm new to that. I'm new to coming to y'all. I've never done that. I've done it on my own. And he said this is how it works, and you put heads in the beds in those hotels, and you hit that certain number, you'll be good. And I mean, I can guarantee, I've done it before. I've sold out every hotel in Alice multiple times.
If we can make a plan for something like that, we hit that fund there, and we may not be able to get us all the way there, but with the man hours and the support staff that this league has, I mean, I've been to it where there's 500 people sitting in the bleachers.
Yes, sir.
So there is a huge support staff. They come in from Freer, Ben Bolt. I mean, they come in from everywhere for this league. And if we can get them coming in from places where they have to spend the night, like you say,
yes, sir,
then we've opened up options.
Yes.
So I think that if we put our heads together, that there might be options, an expansion of options for us. So let's definitely look at that as well.
Yes, sir.
Moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Does staff think it would be conducive to our workload for our parks people to add another park? Are we being realistic?
They can mow it legally. I'll just tell you, legally, he can go out and he can mow it.
I have a groundskeeper already in place that I've talked with. I have talked to different sponsors where like I said, we're going to come in, we're going to clean it up.
Okay.
We don't expect y'all to, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I'm willing to do it.
You're being
I'm willing
recorded.
To help. No,
Because I've heard it.
New high def equipment.
A little help here and there.
So many times. Y'all don't even know how many times this phone goes off.
We'll take care of it.
And the fields have this, and the fields have that, and the.
Well, I'll tell you now, I'm there on a Saturday at 6 a.m. and I leave at 11 o'clock at night, and that's all through the fall. And
I mean, that's
me.
all I ask is that commitment from citizens to say, hey, you know what? The true reason why we're doing this is for our kids.
It is.
Because as city staff, I'm being very realistic. A lot of this is not even done right now.
Right.
So to add another field is kind of not being real. But if y'all, take that initiative and say, you know what, this is the purpose of it, and the city's working with us, and we're still going to go forward with our plans of putting in and doing, because we know the benefit does come back to our kids and makes us better than other teams in the area that have started at these ages.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm super excited about it.
We will put in every man hour possible necessary, and we'll make it work. We're going to make it beautiful.
Awesome.
I mean, for the kids of our community, for the parents of our community. So.
And I'm okay with the idea that was brought forward that fees can be altered
Yes.
or done so forth depending on the
work
effort and work
Mm-hmm.
vested into it, and then just permitting and scheduling as we normally do our practice, but dedicating it to the Youth Football League without necessarily going into a lease.
Correct.
And just using what we currently have in place
Mhm.
to better suit this.
The cool thing that you have about them becoming a 501c3 and their insurance is their insurance going to run to their operations as a corp. And so as their insurance runs to their operations as a corp, if they're out there, if they go, hey, Josh, we're going to go out, we're going to take care of the field, or they let groundkeepers know we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And while they're out there, if anything occurs in their corporate endeavor while they're out there, guess whose insurance covers it?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that given the plan that Cookie has presented and given what we have in place, I think you guys can make it work and make it work, you know, very beneficially to both groups.
Wonderful. Council, Ms. Carrasco?
I'd like to ask Mr. Lemon, like them mowing and doing all that and doing the upkeep, that would be considered in-kind, and that's something we can,
Well,
how does that?
And we really don't need to worry about that a lot
Uh-huh.
because that's in addressing the lease issue. But yes, that you're to kind of head that question off the pass, your community affairs director can say, okay, well, here's what we're going to charge you to do these things, but here's an alternative that you can do to reduce the permitting or your league fee or cost or whatever it is. And that's going to be, you know, your city manager, and that's going to be Josh that have those considerations. And given the disuse of that area, given the discussions that Josh has had with other people prior to you cooking, just to try to get somebody over there, I think that he's going to be very.
How do we, since it's park, you said this would be okay because it's when you dedicate it as a park, then it's open to the public, and how do we handle those things?
Well, and with the situation that you have, the easiest example that I can give you is you have, again, the Optimus Field, and that it is dedicated as the American Little League. And that the council said, this is where the American Little League is going to play, this is going to be their field. It's kind of like Westfield is our pony league or a junior league park. You know, that's the field that's dedicated to do that. That's the one that's the right size, that's what it fits and whatnot. And so, you know, get it cleaned up, get it working, and then council can have a formal dedication by resolution that this is in fact going to be the LSU's football league field or football complex or whatever you want to call it. And then you go forward from there. And whether Cookie remains as the chairperson or president of the corporation, that corp is the one that comes forward. If you have another football league that wants to get involved or whatever, then, you know, they sit and they jockey for position. But I don't think, given the structure that Cookie's, I'm sorry, Mr. Rosales, I've been doing that. Mr.
It's okay,
Rosales,
Mr. Lemon, I'm good. John?
Mr. Rosales' organization, I just don't think that's going to happen. But you can do it very simply. And so don't, and it being dedicated as a particular type of field is fine. It is a park area, it's fine. Doing it that way, we have no legal impediments.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we do that today, though? Because that's not what our agenda item states.
Does it say take all necessary action?
Consider
Or
an act
enter into a
upon-
lease.
Consider an act upon adopting a resolution.
To enter into a lease.
But then we
To enter
have,
into a lease agreement that we will not.
can we,
Because that's a resolution against the park, and I just don't want to do anything here. I want to do this right because I think that we've got an approach that can make this work.
yeah.
And I don't think we need to
Well, we
open up the
modify
door
it,
for anything
Not
else.
to say lease agreement.
Well, and let me tell you that you don't need a resolution to enter into a lease, but to dedicate it, you're going to need a resolution.
That's the part that I want to.
Dedication or
The
their
dedication,
use?
so
Oh.
that you know.
We can bring that
there
up
is
at the next meeting,
Yeah.
the dedication for it. In
But
the meantime,
couldn't we just suggest strike out lease agreement? Because it's still saying adopting a resolution.
It would probably be best to go ahead and just present a resolution dedicating that park, or that area, this acreage it would probably be most appropriate to do it, just to come back.
And the reason I say that is because we know that this one has been up for sale. It actually had, you know, doing it right. The reason I'm so much for putting it out there right is it had a bid, you know, over a year ago, it did have somebody who put an offer in. It was shot down. We put it up again. We brought that out. We talked about putting it back on putting it on the ballot for sale in May. We putting up signs saying, hey, if you're interested. So I think for the most part, we just need to do this right across the board, get this land to the youth, and try to get it done on point so that they can't come back and say we didn't do this right.
I think it should be tabled, and then we come back when we have a more clear verbiage and notice to the public. And
just the idea is on the next agenda item, on the next agenda, bring it forward for resolution. And at this one, there's no action that needs to be taken.
Or dedication now, but it now, bear in mind, it is still Harkins Industrial Park. People that donated that, so we would just be designating it.
Yeah,
correct?
you're just dedicated as the Alice Football League or youth football playing facility or whatever.
Yeah, youth football.
Harkins Park, Alice Youth Football, like the library is the Alicia Salinas Alice Library, and something like that. Whatever you.
Well, I think that staff can go back and make sure, and legal go back so that we come back at the right time. But I think that moving forward, get with the city manager, get with Josh, get with permitting or whoever they need to get with downstairs to schedule things and start firing away if you want, because I think that we can do this for the community. I think we can do this for the kids, personally speaking. So.
And then it'd be used. I mean.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the whole point of it.
Okay. Thank y'all very much.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, Cookie. So at this time, we are tabling or no act?
No action.
Take no action and come back
Okay.
with another.
So no action taken on agenda item number 8 by council, and we'll come back at another time with a dedication. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9. Conduct a public hearing and consider and act upon an ordinance of the City of Alice, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning Palm Heights Addition Lot 20 and S8 Lot 1, Block 2, known as 511 Du Bois Street, from an R1, one-family district, to an R2, two-family district, as shown by map thereof recorded in volume 12237, page 027, transcribed map records, Jim Wells County, Texas.
Mayor, this is a rezoning application. This is simply a one-family home. The person enclosed their garage, but actually put a separate meter in there for electricity. It's a separate living unit, and it went through planning and zoning. When Codes was inspecting it, they figured it needed to be it's a two-family home, considered a two-family home. And so planning and zoning reviewed it. They recommended it to be rezoned. There was no opposition and nobody opposed or nobody in favor of it when it went to public hearing or the mail-outs as well. And I believe there, from discussions today with the Codes Department, Community Development Department, there's other places that have, in that area that have the similar structure. And my understanding from the outside, it pretty much looks like an enclosed garage, but it needs to be converted to an R2.
Mayor, point of order, you just open the public hearing.
Right.
And see who's here to speak in favor and against, and then you can close it if nobody's here.
Okay. The time is now 7:48, and we'll open our public hearing for any interested parties on agenda item number 9. Anyone interested in speaking for or against agenda item number 9? Okay, so we're closing the public hearing at 7:49 p.m. Moving back to agenda item number 9. Council, any questions, Mr. Molina?
No.
Ms. Carrasco, you can come back in now.
She actually
Has to stay out the whole time?
Yeah, she says that due to a personal relationship she has with the property owner, she feels it's inappropriate for her to be in there.
Perfect. Okay. Mr. Molina? No. Mr. Chris?
No.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time, council.
Mayor, make a motion to approve the ordinance by rezoning Palm Heights Addition, Lot 20, and S8, Lot 1, Block 2, known as 511 DeBow Street, from an R1 one-family district to an R2 two-family district, as shown on the map thereof, recorded in volume 12237, page 027, transcribed map records, Jim Wells County, Texas.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion stands as stated. Thank you.
Do you need to read that?
No, that, you don't need to read that
Do we have
ordinance
to read the
right now.
description? No.
Ordinance that have fees or,
Which one needs to be read, ordinance or the resolutions?
no, an ordinance that if it's gonna have a fine or a fee.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Never right on point on that. All right.
Should we continue, Mr. Lemon, or?
Yes, you still have a quorum.
Okay. Agenda item number 10, consider and act upon modifications to City of Alice Ordinance Number 2034, Division 3, entitled Mobile Food Vendors, establishing permitting procedures, fees, and guidelines for expanded availability of mobile food truck vendors, and discussion of other private available options. So I place this item on the agenda.
Open both of them together since they.
Sure. Opening agenda item number 11, discussion regarding private parking lot locations for food truck vendors, and consider and act upon temporary use no more than 3 months of the south side of the City Hall parking lot for mobile food vendors, and set guidelines and fees. So I put these two items on tonight's meeting due to a lot of interest, obviously, in our community, and the wonderful job that our food truck vendors have been doing. Being a business owner, I understand the needs of business owners and understand that in their business, it's good for them to be in a centralized location. Back when food trucks started in Alice, which was about last year, this council put into this ordinance was new to Alice. I talked to a previous council member and explained the need for a food truck park. But I guess it wasn't organized or whatever. It's neither here nor there. They kind of opened up without having previous knowledge of how the possibilities, I guess, of a food truck park. So, so right now we currently see our food trucks kind of again here and there, and knowing how municipalities work, when you create districts, they're more profitable. They're more. It's organized, and it's better for the community, and it's more profitable for the business owners themselves. So, noticing the need, and one of our food truck vendors, Ms. Dominguez, actually reached out to me, and I thought, yay, yes, this is the time to do this and try to do it right. I spoke to city manager about it, and he agreed that this would be something good for our community. We bounced around some ideas, and we talked about different locations, some of which are owned by private citizens. So I kind of am asking that private citizens recognize that there is a need in this town for a mobile food truck park, and make it what Austin is or McAllen is. And we're way behind on this as a city with property available, where we really could put this little simple property together for these vendors that are used to being mobile. Maybe grow into a station type park so that they're not moving. So that would require us to change our ordinance number 2034 that allows them to stay stationed and not have to leave. I want to say it's 8 hours or something that they're allowed to stay in one spot. So there's nothing not allowing them to gather together and be in one spot, but the time allotment of how long they can stay in one area prohibits them from actually being in a set place. And we know from business that being in the same place every day is going to help them and help the community find them. Not to mention all the support that we had. Our speakers, they were right on point. It's not just a food truck thing, it's a community thing. Community amongst themselves and with the community. And there's so much more that can be done in those little areas. So I'm asking council to consider, for now, as a temporary location, the area behind City Hall, which does currently have connections there, and it has been used before in the past for different festivals that we've had, and it works well. I'm kind of looking at something that's high visibility for them, so that hopefully some property owners in town will come forward and say, you know what, this is a good little market where I can put together a cool park for these businesses, and then an extra place where people can go and have fun and enjoy. So I'm asking council to consider for now allowing us to change the ordinance, to change the verbiage that states that they can't stay in the same place. So if they wanted to remain in that area overnight, that they could, so that they know they can just drive to work the next day instead of having to haul the trailers and all of that. And then hopefully someone will come forward. I would, but I think my husband would disown me. Trust me, that's why I'm like, somebody needs to do this. It's a no-brainer, council, that our town needs this. And I ask you kindly to consider our citizens and the support. We had, gosh, over 100, I think, comments on Facebook in support of this idea to create a food park. And I think it would be great. And starting here would be a cool start. And high visibility is what we want. We don't really want to hide them in a corner somewhere or make them far. So a central location to me should be very important. And to me, for now, this would be a great spot. Council, any questions? Mr. Molina?
I have no questions.
Mr. Crisp?
Yeah, I have a couple of things I'd like to say real quick. You know, I do support the food truck industry. I mean, I think every one of these trucks here has seen me at them. I think this is a great idea. I'm not going to try to steal the city manager's glory or Josh's, but they have already reached out to local business owners, and there is interest in it already, so that there is the possibility of this thing moving forward. I am not against at all revisiting ordinance, what is it, 2034? It's section, actually, I already have a couple notes here, one second. It's section 22-354, and it is in B, where the duration of more than 5 days consecutive at a location, and part 1 and part 2, a duration exceeding 8 hours at a local, any local day. I am not against revisiting that and extending it within a designated area. But I do have my concerns. There is a lot of liability that falls on the city. This is a used parking lot behind us. I say behind us because it literally is behind us. It is a used parking lot. The idea of, you know, a food truck park includes, you know, restrooms. It includes picnic tables, and those are things that I just don't see us being able to accommodate in our parking lot. However, we do have interest of people wanting to move on this already. We have obviously people who are very interested in it. I believe our city manager has some names that they are more than willing to have known to the general public that they want this to take place and to get in contact with you guys. So yeah, I think that this could be a good thing. I just don't like the idea of it being on our city property.
I talked to, well, right now, there's not a lot restricting. I mean, we have a lot of food trucks registered
Yes.
in town. So when this ordinance was passed, it was wanting to be as least restrictive as possible. Yeah, there's some guidelines there, but to allow the food trucks to come in. And there was a kick in the beginning. I think Mr. Dominguez was at that when we had, there was a grub in the hub. It wasn't.
2 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, 2 years ago, okay.
Yesterday.
And kind of tied to the farmer's market. And it was out in this location, and I don't know whether it was when the farmers market moved to the Anderson Park. Did the food trucks? Okay, and it fizzled off. But I did talk to Ventura Garcia, who owns a parking lot across from this old HEB right here. And when I was thinking about it, that seems like a very centralized, good location for some type of food truck park. The requirements that we have, the only issue there, most of these food trucks, I believe, are self-sufficient and have their own generators and things of that sort.
Yes. However, if we do get a food truck park in place, the idea of having a food truck park there to be able to be overnight would be a plug-in. Starting off with the generator could be like a temporary thing until we get more established. But the end goal is to have a plug-in to be able to have our refrigerators on overnight and whatnot.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, because the ideal there is that if we were self-sufficient at a stationary place, we'd be running our generator 24/7, and that's wear and tear on our generators. I mean, we can't afford to be buying a generator every couple of months, you know, just to have that one on, and they're loud. You don't want to have loud out there.
That's another thing, yeah, that it would help with it being so loud.
Yeah, and the other thing is, there has to be, our ordinance calls for access to some bathrooms, and porta potties, I think, are compliant, will comply, that would be in compliance. But nonetheless, Mr. Ventura Garcia said if he had 2 or 3 people approach him, he would be interested in doing what he could do with that parking lot. I also talked to Hector Vidial with the VFW. They have the pavilion has a bathroom, so that's one thing that's kind of taken care of there. And he was going to bring it up to his members, and he had an interest there also of a location. And then Joe Alvarez with the KC Hall. I didn't speak to him, but Josh Flores, Community Development Director, spoke with him also, and they all have interest. I mean, I think that there's some locations. You know, what I thought would be a good idea is having this here would be able to have, you know, tell people that these guys are interested.
Correct.
And if enough people can go to them, they may be able to put something together pretty quick.
Right.
So it could be a pretty positive thing and a good thing for the city.
And that was the reason for my request to just go here. Michael and I tossed it around. It really wouldn't take that much, and we do have Held Park that has seating that would be nice. But currently, they don't have chairs and tables and all of that because they have to go into parking lots. So this would be a temporary thing till I know somebody would see the need for it and, you know, come forward. I would hope.
And again, it's in my opinion, it's just a liability thing. You know, if they back into a city truck, if they do this when they're parking there, when moving around, like I said, it is a utilized parking spot. If it was a non Veterans Park parking lot, it's empty. You know what I mean? Then I wouldn't be against it, but it is a utilized parking lot. You know, we have our city trucks there all the time. We have our city council meetings right here. We have our festivals there. These will already be set up in the middle of somebody's festival.
Which they normally do anyway.
Well,
they invite them.
But they get invited by whoever's holding the festival. By us having them there, we're dictating that they're going to be a part of your festival. So, I mean.
Well, that's only being part of community. Yes,
well,
ma'am.
But we do carry insurance, so we are covered.
Yeah, we all carry $1 million. We all carry $1 million.
Anybody backs up into a vehicle, I mean, they got their insurance.
Right. Well, I know, but I state liability, and it's the way it goes across the board, is they're going to go after money. Insurance, yes, this, that, and the other, but I'm just looking out for the city as a whole. I think there's opportunity here. I think that we've already got some great people that are willing to move on this and revisiting this ordinance. I think I had a conversation just a minute ago that there's other things about this ordinance that need to be adapted to, that they need to be able to apply once and put multiple locations instead of putting multiple applications in. So there's a lot that needs to go into this aside from just you know, being able to park them here. So
This would be 3 months, though. Mr. Burke, any questions?
No.
Ms. Carrasco?
Our ordinance does not address, currently a park or anything. It addresses just temporary, like the 8 hours and stuff. So, and does it address anything on, I don't remember reading about private property, personal property owners, if they wanted something catered. Do we have that addressed in here? I can't remember. Because those are things that if we could modify different, you know.
yeah, I know that right now they have to get a permit if they're going to cater, then park their truck out somewhere too. So
Because the permits per location.
Right. So I think there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
This would be
Yeah.
just parked.
But I mean, it would be, the duration would help to try to have something more permanent.
Yeah.
That's one of the.
But I wouldn't want to take out our current, it would be in addition, add something.
Well, I would say
not
within
take
the
out.
designated area that they
Because-
call the lot or whatever that they're going to call the park, within that area, you're limited to, you know.
I think Mr. Lemon would be able to
Yeah.
guide us on that as far as verbiage and how that
yeah,
would work.
obviously, yeah.
But I think that's important. I would love to see that. I believe they would be, it's exciting. There's something new that's been a trend for different communities, and they love the food truck industry, so.
I can understand the concerns, you know, of the liability, and I just ask if maybe a different location could be considered. You know, a lot of people brought up, at least for a temporary, until we have another property owner or something come forward and have it be established. But I'm wondering if maybe one of the places that had been suggested online was Veterans Park. You know, a lot of it's almost set up and ready. There's a beautiful shade that's there. We have the bathroom facilities that are there, the parks there. If we wanted to set up and do a talent show on a weekend, it would be very easy to do there. And it's been a part of the Beautify Alice, you know, project. And so I just feel like if this is not a good location, maybe another location could be considered, and just not, you know, kind of tossed out of the idea and just wait for a property owner. So if something like that could be considered, I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mr. Molina, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
I just reiterate that this would be a very temporary, a 3-month, is all we're asking, is a 3-month allowance to show the interest and to show the community the need for this park or this location. As they're there, they're just spread apart, and that's the problem.
A lot of things are, I'm not sure if we have something like that, but there's very specific guidelines or statutes that we have to follow as far as right-of-ways, when it's public or private uses. How does that come into play?
It would depend on what you're talking about. If you're talking about the use of our parking lot, I think that the City of Alice, and that's one of our parking spaces, you know, like handicap would be the first thing that you get into, but I think that the City of Alice has appropriate handicap spaces based upon our other spaces around City Hall, so I don't think that would come into play. You know, as far as liability aspects go, the impediment of traffic and those types of things, it just depends. It would depend on what was going on and what they were doing and that type of stuff.
And then are there ADA compliance things that we have to follow with that?
And there I'd have to tell you I don't know. You know, that would be another question, is because if we're going to operate an endeavor that is potentially a food service endeavor, we have to look to see what other requirements may or may not apply to it. You know, it's an outdoor space. ADA compliance in regards to their current truck positions, I don't know. I would assume that they're in compliance with whatever rules they have to. Now, of course, our bathrooms would have to be ADA compliant, but I think they are anyway. But then you'd have the issue of having to go out and check the porta potties. If we're 3 months and we have to have appropriate restroom facilities for placement, then you're going to have to worry about making sure that whatever's placed out there is appropriately.
But would they actually be ADA compliant because they have to get across the bridge?
And it
Not necessarily.
It would depend on.
At Veterans Park?
Yeah, it would depend. And well, and at Veterans Park, you have the side park at Veterans Park. Right there with the bathrooms right there. Those bathrooms aren't always the cleanest in the world, but you know, so.
Because normally they park
They tried to burn them down a couple weeks ago.
Well, normally they park on the shady side anyway, so which wouldn't need, the bathrooms are already on that side. I'm just asking council to show support for something new and different and to create diversity in our town and move us forward and not keep us stagnant in old ideas. And this is just a
council does
show.
want to diversify and do, but we also want to be going through the legal process and making sure that we're compliant and.
Just
we
because
are.
we
I just
don't
think we
move
are.
doesn't mean we don't support.
Yes.
But a lot of times
I
when we
think the
table
statements
things
are
and we
being
table
made.
things, you know, sometimes how many things are tabled? Moving forward doesn't include tabling every single item that is for a push forward, especially if we're legally compliant.
We do have an ordinance for our food trucks,
We do
and I
have
do
it.
want them, we need to move forward, and I'd love to do that. I do believe that there's been cities that have tackled this and have taken several months and years in doing this. I don't believe that our ordinance currently, I think, is a very good ordinance. It addresses a lot of issues. It doesn't address a park. And I don't know how long it would take or what we would need so that we
need to be a little bit more, we have these packets 72 hours in advance. And we should do our due diligence to our citizens to do our homework. And we should do our homework and come prepared
We
to
did do
have
our
these
homework.
solutions.
But
And to present solutions so that we can move forward.
But we're not attorneys.
Yeah, we're
No,
not.
we have one sitting right there that
and
our
we get our
citizens
packets
pay.
at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday.
On Saturday.
And it's
Okay.
Sunday,
And then you have
Monday,
Sunday.
Tuesday.
Okay?
When
Monday,
we
Tuesday, he's
vow
not
to
ready.
serve our citizens, we vow to do the extra that it takes to make decisions to help us move forward.
Okay, and I
When we
think
table
directive,
all of those things, we're not doing anything.
but this isn't tabling. This is moving forward. This is
Yes.
saying,
Well,
legal,
then let's move
do
forward.
your part.
Look into
And
this.
then I ask the owners to continue to do your part, to look and so forth, so that we can get it done properly.
Look at what?
Again, moving forward, it's always better if you're taking the right steps, not just taking steps.
Legally,
That's
the
the big
only,
difference.
the only issues that you would have if you put them here on the south side, legally, right now, the only issues you would have would be your potential exposure to liability. Then also potentially with ADA compliant bathrooms and how they're gonna get set up, because I don't know how close, and we just have to check are we gonna allow them to come into City Hall? Is it within sufficient distance? Are the trucks gonna have to be on one side or the other side? Those are some issues, and it would just be determined as it went forward, and community development would talk to me about it as we go forward. So legally right now, and your impediment that I can tell you is liability. Depends on how you're gonna configure it, how you're gonna go from there, whether there's going to be other legal ramifications that come into play. Just like going to Veterans Park. Again, you're still going to have your liability issue. You're going to have your issue, and you're going to have your issue potentially with the ADA compliant bathrooms, where the placement's going to have to be in those regards and how it's going to be configured. So, you know, if you all have other questions than that in regards to legal, you know, it's all going to be hypothetical. And so, you know, I can answer the questions that we have that are real questions right now, but as far as potential of how it's going to get set up, community development is going to have to look at it, and then we'll have to come and sit down and talk with me about it. And I'm going to be honest, Josh has been very good about coming and saying, this is an issue that's come up. What do you think? Can we do this or can we do that? And then we look at the applicable laws and the state of Texas and our city ordinances and home codes and whatnot together. And, you know, but
And we let city staff do their job.
we would have to see how it was going
At
to be
that time.
configured. Okay.
Our job would be to change the ordinance and allow this for the time being and allow city staff to do what they're hired. We're not hired to do their job.
But
That's their job.
additionally, we need them to change the ordinance and bring it back to us for approval.
That's us to change.
If you want, the ordinance is up for discussion.
It's
And if
on there
y'all
for
had
discussion.
portions of the ordinance that you wanted to modify, you could. And part of it is kind of the timeframes.
Right.
If they wanted to be more stationary. The ordinance, I believe, was modeled a little bit after Corpus Christi's and Kingsville's. And I don't know, I think the fees probably
It's on point
less.
with Corpus.
Or is it on point with Corpus?
It was a copycat of Corpus. Yes, ma'am.
I believe like the fees that here is like per location. If you move to different locations, you have a fee to get a permit to vend at that area. I believe if you have that annual fee, should allow you to park wherever you're gonna park in Alice. It doesn't matter where at. You know, I think you shouldn't have to be paying a fee for every location.
And I
It's
agree.
just an annual fee.
Correct.
Or a temporary fee. There's a one-day fee or an annual fee.
Because right now, the event fee is the same as a month fee, correct?
No, the month fee is more, well, the annual fee, yes, and the month fee is different.
The
So there's
month
like
and the
three
event.
different fees.
Yeah.
I believe it should be one fee or one temporary event fee. Because not everybody vends in Alice all year. So they vend in Alice either all year or they do only special events.
And I do agree that when you submit an application for a monthly fee or an annual fee, that you should be able to list and show, you know, your permission from all the landowners. That way you don't have to resubmit every time. So I agree with that as well. So.
So I would ask council to look at the ordinance B1 under section 22-354 and consider.
I don't agree with that because I think we need a subset that designates a park area, because if they want to park in front of Kimcell outside of this park area, it needs to be limited. The duration needs to be limited. I don't think we need to allow them to just open up the door to park anywhere for a duration.
I see what you mean, you're looking at.
You've got a situation in Austin, and the mayor, you very appropriately identified Austin as one of the areas where this has taken off, and we don't have any site development and zoning regulations in place like what Austin has. And I think that this is a valid point that you all are talking about. But if we're going to do this moving forward and we want to develop a park, that we need to work on some site development regulations and zoning regulations for these types of parks, specific for these types of parks. Now, whether that's on public property or whether that's on private property, I think we need to move forward, because as Austin developed this, and I'm sitting here and I pulled it up and I've been looking at it while you all talked, is that is one of the things that they did. And in particular, it's sections B through K, section 255, 2812 of the Austin Code of Ordinances. And so, you know, I think that is something, if you want to work on the development of a food park or a food truck park, I think that we need to go ahead and do those things. I think we need to have the involvement of a community development director. I think we need to go ahead and get all of these things in place. And I understand the desire to have something done now, but I think that if we're going, if we're going to develop a food park, we're going to move forward in a proactive fashion, that we need to go ahead and let community development sit with our food park people so we can work out, well, what are you all looking at doing? What type of site development issues have you foreseen? What sort of site development issues did they have in Austin? And what type of zoning requirements are there, so that we don't, kind of like what the mayor is talking about now, we don't go back in and say, okay, well, now let's go in and fix this part, and let's fix this part, and let's fix this part, and let's fix this part, so that we have a more universal application that promotes this type of business, whether they're using public property or private property. And that's your legal statement.
Could we form a committee with some of the community for the input of?
I think that might just add a long period of time, but I think, yes, that
Well,
might.
just to meet with people that actually own the food trucks.
I think it's there already. I think the committee's already here, you know what I mean? You know, what
Addressing agenda item number 11, I reiterate, it's a temporary spot. And this is almost like an advertisement for them that we as city leaders are helping to promote diversity and moving forward. This is not a park. We're not saying this is going to be a park. We're saying this is a temporary location just to showcase we have all of this group of people that want to. They'll probably fill up every little spot there, and I'm sure city employees wouldn't mind adjusting where they park. And we have a lot of sitting vehicles that just sit there, and we addressed that too, Michael, that we could solve that. So this would just be, this wouldn't be a park. So my request is that we allow them to park here, and in 3 months we can iron out, and all these hypothetical what ifs can get ironed out with a committee that exactly knows what they're doing. But for now, we help them to showcase what Alice has for maybe that possible landowner that would say, hey, you know what? This is going to be my project. I know there's people that would do that.
The bathrooms would probably be an issue, that there's not bathrooms there.
We talked about porta potties.
Porta potties.
Mm-hmm.
That would be. But who would they? Whoever wants to be there, would they provide the porta potties?
Well, that's what we could discuss, like a rent, like a small fee for that, and then that way we could buy or rent porta potties.
Well, my suggestion is, and this is going to drive you crazy, but is exactly what John said. Go back, do the homework, get it done, bring it before council hopefully in 2 weeks. And my if we're going to use city property, in my opinion, Veterans Park is centralized. It's a huge parking lot. It is, let's be honest, it's not utilized. We've gone to the Easter egg hunt there, and there's 400 kids there, and there's 2 cars in that parking lot. You know, come back, get this committee, you know, of food truck owners, and do it right. Again, do it right. That's all I say, because there's more than just coming in here and saying, let's change that section, let's change that section. In my opinion,
we're not changing anything if we just allow them to unite and park together for 3 months.
yes, we are. We're changing the ordinance.
No.
I'm saying we need to add a subsection, because the idea isn't 3 months. The idea is for the future. If we do a park, private landowner comes in and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do lights, we're going to do picnic tables, we're going to do the works. We're going to make it right. We need to have a designated area within the ordinance saying designated as our food truck park has extended stay, has overnight stay, has extended hours, and so forth and so on. It's not just as simple as going in and saying, let's scratch line 1 so that it doesn't happen. It's because the food trucks that come in
states that they can park anywhere so long as they have permission. So tonight we can give them permission to go and park without changing the ordinance at all. I mean, honestly, that's what the ordinance states. They can park wherever they want so long as they have permission from the property owner. And really, they are the property owners because they're citizens of the city of Alice. That's the way I look at it. And why should they not use their own park to park?
Well, we
their
rent
food
out
trucks?
all the lands, the ballparks and everything.
And
so
that's why there's fees right there.
So-
It calls for guidelines and fees.
I've stated my case, and I feel that we can come
choose
back.
to stay back and not progress. By doing simple little things like that, we can start moving forward and not do the typical wait.
We need to look out for everybody as a whole, as a community as a whole. And moving forward, just taking steps without taking the proper steps is not looking out for everybody as a whole, in my opinion. And I think that we've had our legal opinion saying that we need to go back and do it right, get with community, get with the
Mr.
food truck.
Esparza, you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, bringing back at the next meeting, it won't take us long to bring back something to have designated spots on trying to work on the zoning, and that could address the issues. I mean, this can come back also for specific areas where that requirement doesn't apply, like the 5 days a week. And then you have to leave 5 consecutive days. So bringing something back is not, I mean, we can bring it back quickly to be able to designate areas if you guys want to do that. I don't think it'll take a lot of time. I mean, John's already looking at other places where we can model after.
Yeah, we can come out and we can say that this is permitted in all commercial industrial zoning districts. And we can model that specifically after Austin's. We can come in and we're going to have issues right now if we're on city property and you all want to use electrical hookups. We're going to have big issues with CP&L and our own inspection and our own fire safety rules in regards to just plugging into a plug or outlet that we have here at City Hall versus a temporary power pole or a separate meter. And those are things that are gonna have to come into play, and it's just gonna be difficult how to coordinate that, or you keep your generators on during your period of operation, keep food cool and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, during the temporary period, I feel like that's what we're trying to do, is just, we don't need to plug in. We just want to really unite and show that, hey, there's business, not only to the city of Alice, but to the food truck owners ourselves, because it's a gamble just to open up and hope that people come, because we're not a regular restaurant. We don't have the same facilities as they do. And so for us, it's not that easy just to have a guaranteed turnout. We have been blessed to have a good reputation to be able to gain that, but we need to be able to show the food truck owners, not only from here in Alice, but other cities, that we can pull in crowds, and that the people of Alice do like food trucks, and that they are going to go out and support it, and that it's not going to be a waste of their time to put us into their schedule, because they could be in other places selling where they do very well. So I think that this temporary time gives us and allocates the possibility to just generate some numbers, show, hey, we're able to bring in X amount of food trucks and produce so much sales tax for our city, and then just kind of go from there and see if a private property owner steps forward, or at that point maybe we'll be able to go put it at a different part. But
we're not saying no.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is we're not saying no to the temporary timing. We're saying yes to it. We're just saying, let's get it right.
We just need to check into
let's get it right. That's all we say, is let's get it right. And I had stated before that I wasn't even comfortable with a lot of city property, but I'm swaying towards Veterans Park as a temporary location. I'm saying let's get it right. I'm saying yes. I'm basically stating my vote. I'm just not saying yes tonight. I think we need to get the ordinance proper. We need to get the location right. We need to get city staff and everybody to get this done right. So in 2 weeks, hopefully, you're set up. You're good to go. That's what I'm saying yes to. But
well, we need to consider public safety, health, safety, all that. And I know the trucks are inspected and all that, but then we need to make sure the park places properly.
We hold things at those places all the time. I just don't understand why we're moving backwards on something that we could just move forwards temporarily. As we work on all of these hypothetical what ifs. What if Alice grows?
I think we're beating a dead horse here.
There are 15 active licenses.
Right? How many?
15 active licenses, it looks like, permits for food trucks. Have y'all ever seen any where there's been more than one in a location?
Yeah,
yeah, we just recently brought in Boston Dogs from Corpus to come and start parking with us. I've been reaching out on a personal level before I presented this to, or asked Jolyn via Facebook actually, but I had reached out to food trucks. We have a food truck page on Facebook for food truck owners in all of the coastal bend, and so we all discuss events and whatnot. And so for the past year, I've consistently thrown out the idea to them about coming in our industry, we call it piggybacking, where one food truck parks with another food truck. Generally, we don't sell the same food, but we offer different things. And so I've been throwing out to the food truck owners in Corpus to come and park with us. And so we were able to get Boston Dogs to come and park with us, and their revenue was very, very good. And they actually wanted to start making this their permanent spot here in Alice because of it. And so I just felt like a lot of the food trucks in Corpus have been struggling. We know this because they're colleagues of ours, and they're looking for new revenue sources. And all of that sales tax could be coming to our city. If they don't stay in Corpus, they're going to start going other places. And if we have a food truck park, we're at least giving them the option to come and park here 1 or 2 days a week, or if they want to come and make this their permanent spot, great, But yeah, so in reference to the question, we do park with other food trucks. It's just that right now we're on private property, and we do run into some issues of space. Yeah, with limited space, and like if another food truck wants to come and park with us, right now it's kind of limited where we're at. We park at Horseshoes, and so if there's 2 food trucks, we park on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if another truck wants to park with us, now we've taken up the whole parking lot, and it becomes a little bit of an issue.
Clerk, any questions? No. Mr. Molina, any questions? This time, we're just asking council to find if we need to table agenda item number 10 or no action taken, so that we can be secure and safe and do our ordinance homework correctly, then fine. But if agenda item number 11, if we could grant them a temporary use of location just to, again, help our citizens that are trying to diversify and bring something different to our community to catch up to what's happening in other cities. That's a cool thing for just a temporary time. 3 months is what? July, August, September. It's literally right, it's
And
just
it'll
the
be-
summer.
Yeah, we could finish right before the Hispanic Heritage, so we wouldn't interfere with any of the festivals if that's an issue. You know, we just really, if it needs to be 2 months, we just really want the opportunity to show that there's an
Unite
interest
together.
for this.
Mhm. So I would ask council to look again at agenda item number 11 and listen to our citizens that are before us today.
If council isn't going to take any action, I would recommend to table both items, because that way they can come back. Because they probably will need to be looked at the same way, and we would add a third agenda item actually to look at it, just so if y'all aren't going to take action, I would rather recommend to table.
Even on 11?
Mayor,
It's
yeah.
completely different.
Mayor,
Well,
I haven't asked for a motion, sir.
yeah, I would say if y'all are going to take action on 11 also, then I would just ask for it to be tabled instead of no action. That way it brings it back kind of automatically for our next meeting. However you guys want to do it.
Actually, we bring it back automatically, we have to put it on the agenda, it's just tabled.
I would automatically bring it back, knowing that we're going to have to discuss it again.
well, with the direction given by council anyway, to bring it back.
Okay, if there's no questions, agenda item number 10, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, I make a motion to table agenda item number 10 and 11.
I'm asking for 10.
I'll make a motion to table agenda item 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? Motion stands as stated. Agenda item number 11.
Mayor, I make a motion to table agenda item 11.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Thank you, council, for staying behind. Number 13, return to open session to deliberate and, 12. Moving backwards. How ironic.
Thank you,
12.
council, for being safe.
The city council may enter into closed or executive
In our
session
public
pursuant,
safety.
I'm speaking, Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, closed meeting, and specifically regarding modification of settlement agreement, and to receive an update and to secure legal advice and counsel from the attorney regarding Jason Childers versus City of Alice, Texas. And B, the possible sale and or options for the sale of the Rialto Theater and potential buyers described as east 20 feet of Lot 11 and west 20 feet of Lot 12, Block 16, Alice Townsite, City of Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, AKA 319 East Main Street, Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, Government Code Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, closed meeting, and Government Code Section 087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, closed meeting to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the city has received from a business prospect that the city seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the city, and with which the city is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect interested in the development of the Rialto Theater property, and C, Government Code Section 551.074, Personnel Matters, Closed Meeting, and Government Code Section 551.071, Consultation with Attorney, Closed Meeting relating to the following matters. 1, legal advice and counsel relating to the city's rights, duties, privileges, and obligations in connection with the adoption of a policy governing retiree, rehire, and retiree contractual services. And 2, legal advice and counsel relating to the city's rights, duties, privileges, and obligations in connection with adoption of and/or modification to policies relating to retirement criteria. The time is now 8:34, and council will go into closed session.